Okay, I'm going to give you a little demo of the Wrangler plugin for TiddlyWiki that I'm putting together mostly for myself, but maybe you'll find it useful. Best way to explain how it works is to do a little demo, and the intent is to make it easy to make lots of modifications as well as kind of query what is in your wiki. So I'm going to close these, and the place this ends up living once you drag and drop it is in the advanced search area, which you may be familiar with. And so it is kind of an addition to the filter area. So for example, tag character will give you an idea of there's a base Star Wars set in this page. It doesn't come with a plugin, but just it's helpful for demonstration purposes here. And so very similarly to the filter tab, we have the Wrangler tab, and I'll enter the same thing. And I'll get very similar results, although you see there are some additional icons as I will talk about here. So it works very similar in this way, other than it's meant to be multidimensional. So let's just pick one of these entries here, Anakin, and just to see what kind of information and fields are in there. So there's nothing in the text fields on this, but this is a common data source used for data analytics. So you can see there's height and mass and sex and all that kind of stuff. So we will close that. And so one of the first things that differentiates it from filter is we can just add things. So each of these three fields are both for filters. And so although I'm just typing in words here in filter notation, those are all valid entries. So mass, height, etc., etc. I'll explain why some are yellow as we go. All right, so it's a quick and easy way to do querying, whatever you can query from a filter perspective, and then you can enter a field for or a filter for your fields. I did make within this a little bit of a shortcut where you can say all, and that will return all of the fields available. I did hide the created and modified dates because I didn't think I'd hardly ever use them, but obviously you can adjust that. So here we have all of the fields that are available through this data set, and let's just start doing some wrangling, some data wrangling, right? So first thing I might notice is that there's a couple fields here who are not used very often. And so in order to do any actions on fields, it needs to be the last field. And so one way of doing that is saying, I will type in something that is redundant, but when you do that, natural to the wiki behavior is to throw it at the end anyways, and now you'll see it as yellow. Yellow is important because any of these operations, these field operations, will act only on whichever one is the last one, which is selected as yellow. So if I want to get rid of this field, I don't think this is worth having, I can hit erase. It says erase field for all, and boom, it's gone. The other one that was like that is vehicles. And I might want to erase that one as well. So as I look at the rest of them, most of them are fairly self-explanatory. I did notice this films does appear to be kind of an array or multiple items in there. So from a wrangling, that would be a common thing for us to want to clean up. If I hit escape, it goes back to the default, which is just title, and I'm going to say films. And you can see it's a comma delimited list. So I'm going to fix that. And so I might say in here, start with the new val. And so when I do that, it enters it here. That's just so you can see, because a lot of the operations take whatever the entry in new val is and overwrites whatever is in the yellow column. So I don't want to take that as. I want to, instead of making a comma separated, I want to do it in typical list format that TiddlyWiki understands. So I'm going to say split that by comma space, and then I can see there's only one. That is because I haven't joined it back together. So I'm going to format title list and then join with a space, the way that TiddlyWiki understands. And when I hit update, update field for all, I can also do it one at a time if I use the same icon on a line by line basis, but I can hit it all, and boom, I've now fixed that column, so to speak. Where that looks like a typical one. All right. What's the next one? So fixing films. One of the films notice in here is The Force Awakens, which was the I think it's number 7. So just for the sake of example, let's pretend I want to erase any note on history that film occurred, and I'm only concerned with the first 6. So this might be again, I'm picking things that might be in analogies to your own wiki. So that's a little more complicated. Let's see how we would do that. Well, first let's isolate the characters that were part of The Force Awakens. Get those and list input match. Alright, so here are the tiddlers that have The Force Awakens as one of the entries in here. And then for new val, I would enter what the new value that I want to use for this. So I might say, start with that, and I can watch it as I go. So I want to enlist input, don't match the Force Awakens, and then I want format title. Let's get it back into normal format. Join with space. All right, so this new val should look exactly like the films, but with the Force Awakens removed. And that's what it does look like. So I'm going to update that. Boom. And so that goes away. All right, so now that I've done that, what I might notice here, if I go back to this, the total tag character, is some of my characters literally have no films, and so I probably don't want to bother keeping these characters anymore. So I could say filter has films, and that will return all the ones with empty films. Again, I can do things, I can export here, and that will export. Now, I did a shortcut, and because I only ever export to JSON, I have it, if I click, it just goes right to JSON. But I'm going to delete these. Boom, they're gone. You see there's not many training wheels on this. There's no checking for OK cancel. There's no undo, nothing. So use this with caution. But now I've not only removed any trace of that movie, but I've removed any of the characters that only exist in that movie. All right, other things we can do. Now we've got this list of films. I could show just something I added for a little convenience. Let's add film count. And for film count, I want to say, start with the films, list, input, count. And so I can see here, if I'm looking for bigger numbers, here's a long list, and it's 6. C-3PO is in 6 films. That looks like that's correct. So I'm going to say update. Boom. And now I can either leave this, or I can just say film count. Doesn't matter. And let's get rid of films for now. And let's sort this descending as number by film count. So the ones that are at the top are there. And I just added this just because I'm a visual person. Bars, I thought it would be interesting to look at things visibly. So that there's by default, it operates on a range of 0 to 10. So we can do a couple things. I want this to go to 0, and I can see the max value here is 6. So now you'll get full bars if you're 6. And then how many bars total do you want? In this case, I probably want some relation to 6. So if I want to make it longer, for every film, 3 little bars are added. And then the last piece of this, and it's just a user-defined function here, you can put whatever character you want in here if you want to replace it with something else, including an emoji, just for fun. So just something to allow you to do some kind of visual exploration, which is common in regular data wrangling. Okay, other things we can do, back out of this, I've been operating on very specific fields other than the title. So you notice when I do lots of add fields here, I have these same icons, update and erase. But if the last field in there is title, you have different options. And when I do things, enter value, you'll see I now have options to rename or to copy. And so what I can do here is I can either individually or bulk rename or copy. And so I might want to, for example, one thing I might want to do is if I wanted to make them all title case or something like that. They're all kind of title case, say uppercase. So I have that, and I could say, or let's do lowercase. So on a case-by-case basis, I can go through and either make a copy of, which will make an exact copy of it, And but with the new val as the new title, so if I click this once, copy to new val, boom, now I have two C3POs, one in lowercase, one in regular, and both are exactly the same and have all the same fields as they did before. So if you have large copy operations, that might be useful. I haven't had a lot of use for that. Also, I haven't explained what these things are, but these are individual, the delete is delete. So let's say I want to get rid of that one I just did, I can do that. The other buttons here are for exporting, if you just want to do an export on a single tiddler, or this is kind of a back out because I don't have the checkbox system that other ones do. I can click this and it just adds it up here to the top in terms of a manual filter. So that's what those ones do. But I could do a bulk rename. Say if I want to go all lowercase and I hit this rename all, it'll go through and now it is renamed all of my tiddlers. And if you have the relink plugin going, that should work as you would expect. All right, so I've done all of those things. The last thing that I was going to show is so we have all these characters, and just to kind of show you can use this to also fully create other things. So for example, I have the title and I have the films. What if I wanted to have a tiddler for each film? So I could say tag character, get films, list input, and then unique. And now that will return, just as you would expect, one for each of the 6 remaining movies that I put in here. Now you notice, per standard TiddlyWiki notation, it's italic. That means it doesn't yet exist. But I can create them, and the easiest way to do that is by doing the standard update field. Let's give it, let's modify the tags field. And there's no tags on there because it doesn't exist yet, so I'm going to give it the tag of movie, and when I hit update, boom, now they all exist. You see they became non-italicized, and it functions just like you would expect. Now there's not really any information in here that you would want to take a look at yet, but you could, for example, say, what are the characters for this movie? So that's the title, and I want to say listed in the films field, and it's going to return, in this case, right now, only a single character name. So I'd have to do the typical format, title, list, join, and now here is a list of characters for each of these, and I can hit update, and that will store it in the characters field, as you would expect here. So now that's just a way of adding some things. So hopefully this gives you an idea. I know there's a lot of questions that come up in the community of, hey, if I make this kind of design decision over how I'm going to store my information, how do I change it? So I'm trying to give you some ideas of how this utility could be helpful for that type of scenario. And then the last thing that I haven't showed is, let's say, episode. Not only can you do all these bulk changes up here and individual changes, but just like a spreadsheet for episode, if I don't have a formula for this, but I could say, okay, New Hope, if I click on that box, it makes me one more area here. I could say that was episode 1, and then, let's see, I think this was 2, actually, that's wrong, this is 4, 5, I'm going to get this wrong, 6, Phantom Menace was 1, 2, and I think that was 3. So just to give you an idea, and you hit escape, now I'm out of edit mode. So hopefully that gave you some examples of how you can do some bulk images or bulk changes using this utility.